Hello again, and welcome to day 2 of week 7 of year 3 of the Religious Education Initiative. On day 2, we always read something from the tradition of the church, sometimes writings of the fathers, lives of the saints, or prayers of the church. Today we're going to read something a little bit different. This is a prayer of Saint Philaret of Moscow. Saint Philaret was the Metropolitan Bishop of Moscow, and therefore the highest-ranking hierarch in the Russian Church in the early 1800s, in a period when the Russian Tsar exerted an extreme level of control over the Church. St. Philaret was known and respected as a faithful and pious man, and he played a significant role in the translation of the Bible into the Russian language. This prayer of his has become a frequent element of regular morning prayer rules for Orthodox Christians around the world. And it's actually a perfect thing to read the week that we read about Abram, Sarai, and Hagar and Ishmael. So this is the prayer of St. Philaret. O Lord, grant me to greet the coming day in peace. Help me in all things to rely upon your holy will. In every hour of the day, reveal your will to me. Bless my dealings with all who surround me. Teach me to treat all that comes to me throughout the day with peace of soul and with firm conviction that your will governs all. In all my deeds and words, guide my thoughts and feelings. In unforeseen events, let me not forget that all are sent by you. Teach me to act firmly and wisely without embittering and embarrassing others. Give me strength to bear the fatigue of the coming day with all that it shall bring. Direct my will. Teach me to pray, and you yourself pray in me. Amen. Now, I think sometimes, one wonders, having said what I said at the beginning, how would things be different in the world if Abram and Sarai had been praying and living this prayer? But really, this is a reality of humanity at large. We very often don't like the way that our lives seem to be going. We think that we've got a better plan, a better way of handling these different things. And what we are called to, in being called to be Christians, is to worry less about how things are supposed to turn out. Because what we know what it is to be faithful, to be obedient, to live at peace, to treat everyone that comes to us with firmness and wisdom, without embittering and embarrassing, in a gentle and a peaceful way, entrusting ourselves and the outcome of everything that we do to the Lord. Now, this doesn't mean that we just sit there and wait for God to do things, or to guide us through life as though we're puppets on a string. That's not the point. The point is, we live our life, we do our work, we fulfill our responsibilities, we interact with the people that God brings into our lives, and we do it in the way that the Lord has called us to do. And when things don't go well for us, we ask for the grace and the strength to endure it, and when we fail, we ask for mercy and forgiveness, and we get up and try again. We don't try to force a particular outcome. That is the way of the cross, to take up our cross and to follow Christ. Now, this can be a little bit troubling in some extent, and it's worth talking about a little bit, because this prayer can give the indication, it can be read in a way that implies that God is sort of micromanaging every single thing that happens in our lives. And we know that this is not the case, because we are free, and so is everyone around us. And yet, trusting God, engaging our will to be obedient and submissive and faithful above all to the Lord, does mean that we accept everything that comes to us as in accordance with God's will for us. Not as something that God is doing to us, but as something that we have been given and that we can receive in a way that works for our salvation. This is a very touchy, fine line, Again, we don't say that when something bad happens to us, God has caused this. There are genuinely evil and broken things that human beings around us will do, or that we ourselves will do, that are not God's will. But if we submit ourselves to the will of God, then even evil things that others have done to us God will work them for our salvation if we can receive them in peace and in trust. This is something like what we see happening to Hagar and Ishmael and Abram and Sarai in the previous passage. God didn't tell Abram to do that. God didn't cause Abram to do that. That was not something that God willed to happen. When it had happened, God urged Sarai, he came to Hagar, he comforted her, he assured her that he was with her, and he told her that he would turn that evil into good. And she trusted him, she was faithful, and therefore blessings did come to her and to her son and to the world. This is not the best example, because there's a lot of brokenness happening here. But if we read this prayer and add to it, as a reminder, the Lord's commandment, whoever wants to come after me, let him or her deny him or herself, take up his or her cross, and follow me. For whoever tries to save his or her life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for the Lord and the gospel, their life will be saved. This passage from the Lord helps us to understand and interpret and submit ourselves to the truth that we express in this prayer. To be a Christian, we submit our will to God, and we are faithful no matter what else happens. We don't get lost in, why did God let this happen? Why did God do that to me? Because God didn't do any of those things. But if we are faithful, his will prevail, and he will bring blessings even out of darkness. So that's it for day 2. God bless you. We'll see you day 3.